Today, we are going to do the nature and significance of management, part 3. And in this, we are going to study the nature of management as a science, art, and profession, and also the functions of management. Now, let us study the nature of management. Management is a trinity of art, science, and profession. That means it's a combination of three: art, science, and profession. Now, let us study them in detail. Now, management is an art. So to understand management as an art, let us first understand the features of art and see how many of these features does management fulfill. So the first feature of art is existence of theoretical knowledge. Now, there has to be certain knowledge for every form of art. For example, dance. There are various types of dance like Bharatanatyam, Kuchipudi, Odissi, etc. There's so many types of dance, folk dance, etc. So there's some theory behind it. Second is personalized application. So the application of this art form varies from person to person, from individual to individual. So two dancers dancing on the same song may not dance the same steps, may not look as graceful. One may look very graceful, the other may not look that graceful. So the application of this knowledge is personalized, and it is based on practice and creativity. The more you practice, the more perfect you become. So if you want to learn any form of dance, let us say, then you have to keep on practicing it. So these are the features of art. Now let us see whether management fulfills it or not. Management fulfills all the three features. There is a body of knowledge, like we are going to study the various principles of management. Then the application is personalized. The manager has to see which principle he has to apply. It all depends on the manager, and it is based on practice and creativity. The more you practice, the perfect you become. And therefore, we can say that management fulfills all the features of art, and therefore management is an art. Now, management is a science. Again, science has got three features. First, systematized body of knowledge. Now, we already know that in art also there's a body of knowledge, even in science, and we have already agreed that there's a body of knowledge in management. Therefore, the first feature of art, it satisfies. In science, there's always a cause and effect relationship. Like, for example, an apple is falling on earth, then there is some reason behind it. That is the law of gravity. Then principles are based on experimentation. So in science, the principles are made after experiments are conducted. Experiments are conducted, then they're observed, and then the principle is made. So that is the second feature of science. And then universal validity. Not only are the science principles universally valid, they're applicable also. So if water boils at 100 degrees in India, it will boil at 100 degrees in America, it will boil at 100 degrees everywhere, provided other things are kept constant. So let us see how many of these principles does management fulfill. Now, the first feature of science, that is systematized body of knowledge, that management fulfills. But the second feature, based on experimentation, it does not fulfill fully. Why? Because management deals with human beings, and no two human beings are the same. Therefore, the result of these experiments cannot be predicted accurately. Experiments are done in management also, but the outcome cannot be predicted. Whereas in case of science, the outcome can be predicted. Here, it cannot be predicted. And universal validity does not apply in case of management, because the principles have to be modified according to the given situation. Therefore, we can say that since management deals with human beings, therefore management is a social science. It's not a pure science. It's a social science or an inexact science. Now let's study management as a profession. Now, is management a profession? So nowadays, organizations are looking for individuals who have specific qualifications to be able to work as a manager. So let us first study the features of profession and then see how many of these features does management fulfill. So the first feature of profession is that well-defined body of knowledge. So management fulfills this particular point because we already know that there's a body of knowledge in management, because we have studied it as a science and as an art, and we know that management has a well-defined body of knowledge. Then restricted entry. Now in profession, the entry is restricted through examination. So you have to take an exam, only then you can be called a professional. Then professional association. Now every profession professional belongs to a professional association. For example, the lawyers belong to the Bar Council of India, etc. So these professional associations, they restrict the entry and they give the certificate of practice. Unless you belong to a professional association, you cannot be called a professional like a doctor or a lawyer. Let's see whether management fulfills it or not. And then ethical code of conduct. So there's a prescribed ethical code of conduct which is specified in every profession, and this guides the behavior of the professionals. For example, a doctor cannot say no to a patient who comes very late at night because he's guided by the ethical code of conduct according to his profession. And then service motive. So every professional has to keep the service before profit, and he has to keep the interest of his client before his own interest. So for example, a lawyer cannot be charging too much from his client or cannot keep on dragging the case because he's earning a lot of money at the cost of the client. So you have to keep ethical code of conduct and service motive as one of the features of management as a profession. So let us see whether management fulfills these features or not. The first feature of profession, management fulfills it because it has been fulfilling it in case of art and science as well. Now, restricted entry, it's not strictly met. See, if you do MBA, then you are a manager, but you can be called a manager even without doing MBA. So therefore, the second feature, it does not meet. Then professional association. So there's no compulsion for the managers to belong to any professional association. So even if you don't belong to any professional association, you can still work as a manager. So there's no compulsion. Then ethical code of conduct has to be there. Ethics have to be there. We assume that every manager is ethical. And then service motive in case of management, because they're working in business organizations, therefore their main motive might be profit, is usually profit. So this also takes a secondary position. Therefore, so far as management as a profession is concerned, we can say that management is not a full-fledged profession, but fast moving towards one. Gone are the days when anybody could be called a manager. But now organizations, they look for individuals with specific qualification and experience. That means they're looking for MBAs to take up managerial jobs. So therefore, management is fast becoming a profession. Now come to the functions of management. Now there are 5 functions of management, and we're going to do them just the definition here because we have devoted one entire series of videos on each function. So planning, organizing, staffing, directing, and controlling. So planning is determining things about the future, setting the goals for the future. So this is deciding in advance what is to be done. And organizing is organizing everything, dividing the work amongst the people, giving them tasks, giving them the authority to do the work and getting it done. So getting things done which have been decided in the planning stage. Then comes staffing. Now without staffing, without people, you cannot get the work done. The machines won't operate by themselves. So staffing is finding the right person for the right job and making sure that they stay in the organization. Then you have got the staff, but what are they supposed to do? So you have to instruct them, you have to guide them, you have to direct them as to what is to be done. That is the next function, influencing and motivating the people so that they do to the best of their ability. And then finally controlling. If the things are not going according to what you want, then make sure that whatever deviations are there, they are removed so that everything is back on track. So these are the 5 functions which every manager has to perform. And with that, we come to the case study. So let us see, what does it ask? What does this tell you about management as a profession? So this case study is only about profession, whether it is a profession or it is not a profession. So Mr. Nitin Singhania has a well-established business of steel products. He wants to send his son Anil to USA to study MBA and then join him in his business. What does this tell you about management as a profession? So I'll give you a moment to think about it. Then I'll share the answer. Yes. It means that management is a profession because Mr. Nitin Singhania, he's got a steel business. That means steel business must be a very big business. So though he's got established business, still he wants his son to study MBA. Why? Because he thinks that is a professional qualification needed. So the answer is management is a profession because Anil could have joined the business without doing MBA also. But his father felt that MBA will equip Anil with all the skills required to manage an enterprise. So that's all in this video. Thank you.